YouTube, hello. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday. I'm trying to get this video out before my daily commute, 350 miles down the road back to Maryland. Something that's been on, I guess, on my mind lately to discuss as far as like this car in particular, just because it's such a highlight in my life, and also such a low light in most YouTube reviewers, and which is the reason why I believe that this car is kind of dying off, because it's the influencers really. I think that they play a huge role, I'm included, right? And whether this car succeeds or fails, because we all know, like, you know, if you're a big YouTuber, you're gonna get cars sent to you. They're gonna want you to review it, you know, talk about it, and obviously give said dealer a shout out. So, you know, definitely the influence reaches, especially if you're a bigger YouTuber, reaches a lot of people. I mean, even with my small, you know, following, while I had the 86, I did convince quite a few people, you know, or swayed them either way when they asked your opinion on the car, just based off the fact that you have more experience with it than others. So for me, it's like, you know, what do I tell them, you know, as far as like, because again, at the end of the day, it's the consumer's money, and I don't want to tell them how they want to spend their money, but I also want to be honest about the platform as well. So, and I get that part, but there's a fine line between being honest and just having an agenda. And I think that a lot of the YouTubers out there in particular already have a bias towards what they drive and how they like to drive and everything like that. So they lean more heavily towards that bias and thrash the car that they're reviewing because they just don't like it in particular. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody is going to like this car, and I get that part. But that doesn't mean that you can just talk about it in a negative sense of what it doesn't provide compared to car X. You know, for example, the Honda Elantra N, or the Civic Type R, or the Integra Type S. I think that you have to go into these reviews and these subject matters with a little bit more of an unbiased opinion, and highlight the attributes that this car does have, but also, you know, throw in a little bit of flavor. Like, would I do this to this car? Probably not. But what does this car do? What is it trying to do? What is it trying to be? You know, and can it be that? And the answer to that is yes, it can. But you have to be the one to make sure that you're knowledgeable enough, one, to understand the community, like do the research of the community. Granted, most of these bigger YouTubers, like I said, they get a lot of cars, right? They get a lot of cars, and with them driving so many cars, their opinion is vast, which can be valuable, but also can be a bit skewed, because they can be like, well, you know, some people, they drive so many more expensive cars that one car may not, you know, tickle their fancy, and they'll just bash it. It'll be like, oh, this is trash. And that's not the case. For me, you know, oh, prime example, Max Verstappen just did a YouTube video, which you guys, if you were watching this video, you're probably aware of it, maybe not. Thrashing front wheel drive cars. Now, we know, to us mere mortals, a Civic Type R is the cream of the crop. Only thing I believe is better out the box, out the factory, as a sedan, hatchback, however you want to call it, you know, better doing track work and you know, daily driving work than a Civic Type R or the Integra Type S is a CT4V or CT5V Blackwing. That's the only car I think that's better, that does what the Civic Type R does better. And that's going to BMWs, that's going to whatever, because the shifter is second to none. The way that the car performs on the track as well as on the street is like high marks. So again, Max Verstappen said, you know, front wheel drive is like anti-driving. So And a lot of people got their pennies up in a bunch with that. But to be honest, I mean, look what he drives. And I think a lot of people took that out of context. He's probably just saying in his words, because obviously he's not American, so he's not using the language like we're using it in particular. He's just probably saying he's just not a fan of front wheel drive, and that's okay. Every enthusiast have their own particular niche, as do I. You know, I like Subarus. I like the way that they feel. I think Subaru has reawakened the enthusiast in me that I had years ago when I was a Honda boy, you know, driving a Prelude, driving the Integra and all that stuff back in the early 2000s. So for me, it's just that I know I'm going to have my biases, but I'm also trying to be honest with you guys. And like I said, in my honest opinion, you know, reviewers have killed this car just because they want it to be something that it's not. And if you've seen my videos before, you know that I have already made a video discussing that we do not need, you know, financially, we don't need a STI, because for one, most people, especially in America, if you don't believe me, go look up the numbers, can't afford it. And number two, you know, this car has the potential to be better than an STI out the box. So why would you want to pay more when you get essentially the same motor, the same power, and something that you could use to build off of? And Subaru has at least hit it out the park, in my opinion, with giving us a platform to start from, to build off of. As you can see, I got a TR. I think when the 2022 came out, you know, everybody was complaining about the brakes, you know, what have you, right? For me, the upgrades that they added here with the Recaros and the big brake package with the slotted rotors, that's huge. That's really good. Like, you don't need to see 300x horsepower on a car for it to be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about type of stuff. When you already know the answer to get that power is like $300. If you want 300, if you go get, so say for example, and then we'll get to the driving portion after this, I promise. Say for example, you go get a you know, a base model WRX, and you go spend $300-400 on an intake. You have 330 horsepower just right there, just with the bolt on. So basically, you got the power that you want. So why in the hell would you want to spend more money for all the goodies out the box? That doesn't make any sense financially, and Subaru will not sell those cars. They're not even gonna sell that right now. Again, the subject matter around the community right now is that WRXs aren't selling. Well, no shit. They went up in price, and the TS is like 50-some thousand off the gate. Why would you go get that when, like I said, out the box, the Type R would be a better choice, to be honest, and it holds a little bit more value than this car would because of the heritage. So, like I said, this is the subject matter today, and I believe that the YouTube reviewers killed this car, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on the driving portion, so stay tuned.
Are you paying attention? Good.
All right, so as I was saying, guys, I think YouTubers have ruined this car. They killed it, and I think they're continuing to do so. Case in point, this wasn't my first take on this. This is actually like my fourth, like it always is, I guess. But you know, I just watched Heavy Metal Rex. I just watched his YouTube video that he just posted about the Elantra N, right? Saying how great the car was. Now, I am not saying that other cars aren't better than this car. That's not the argument here. And again, sorry for the loud air conditioning. It is hot out here, so the AC is going to run a little bit loud for a while. So just bear with me here. But as I was saying, you know, he was glossing over how great the car was compared to what the WRX is. And granted that it's still a similar price. Actually, it's more competitive now because WRX is a lot more expensive. But my thing is, again, you're continually, and he's a Subi guy. So it's like, so what's the whole point of that video saying that, this car is better because of what? Like, you're using lap times, that Car and Driver, I think it was Car and Driver, he referenced who did it. They did the lightning lap. The ones that you guys know, if you're watching this channel, you know what the lightning lap is, because I watch it a lot too at Virginia International Raceway. So, he referenced that as a means of, of proving a point, which is, the Elantra N is so much faster around track than, the WRX. Okay, duh. I believe the WRX is heavier. And you also got to remember the Elantra N, one, it probably was, I'm not sure if it was the DCT. I am going to look into that here in a bit. But, even if it was the manual, guess what they got that the WRX doesn't have? Rev matching. It has auto rev match. So you don't have to rev match your downshifts at all, in that car. You are pretty much gung-ho, around the track and not having to worry about matching your own revs, which that in its own takes a skill. So it's like, what are you really trying to prove here? That, saying that the Elantra N is faster, it's the driver, especially if it's a pro, he's going to be faster in that car because he doesn't have to rev match. I don't care who you are. The perfect rev match guy isn't going to drive a car faster than what a computer is telling you when you go in gear. I haven't seen it, and I don't think I'll ever see it unless they're just a slower driver than the other person. But what I'm saying is, it's like you're slowly trying to make up scenarios that the reason why this car is lacking in a sense, when in reality it really isn't. You also got to think of the use case. I mentioned about Verstappen earlier. Like, bro, he just literally shitted on all F-wheel, because F1, whatever, front wheel drive vehicles. So, he just literally shitted on them, bro, and he didn't have to do that. Like, and again, I did come to bat for him and say, like, maybe he meant something else. He probably did. But what I'm saying is, like, you could say the same thing about him, in regards to that. So it's like, what point are you trying to prove with saying that this car is so much better when in reality you get these cars to make them what you want them to be? You don't get them out the box to ever be better than some other car. And I did also mention in the comment section, like, why would you cross shop these cars? What's the point, right? Especially now, like, when you can find a couple of used Civic Type R's, which is clearly a better car, and if you're just trying to penny pinch and just say, I just want a faster car, then you wouldn't shop for a WRX at all. And the driving experience is dynamically different from each car. This is an all-wheel drive platform. That's a front-wheel drive platform. So it also depends on what you fancy. Why would you cross-shop two different drivetrains? It really doesn't make sense to me, because you're going to get an experience in either one either way. But if you're just saying, oh, this one is faster around the track, I'm just going to do this. 90% of you don't even go to the track. So why would you use that as a reasoning for not getting a vehicle or spending money on a vehicle, which most likely you're probably going to trade in 2 years anyway and say, well, I did like it, but I don't like it. Like, if you're compromising for a car at $30,000, you're not going to keep it very long. And that's just the truth. And now you can actually find, for example, this car that I have, the TR, you can find this for $34,000, which I think is a better deal than the Elantra N, even though the Elantra N also gives you bucket seats and things of that nature. But I believe, like I said, I don't think they compete with one another. I think that this car offers something significantly different than the Elantra N or any other vehicle for that matter, just by the sheer fact of its driving dynamics. So, you know, let's, you know, let's not just crap on the car just because it's just fun to do it. Like, it's like people are shitting on the car just for the sake of doing it, and it makes no sense. And again, you wonder why there is no STI, there's no, you know, the car, the X car that you want. It's because you get the car, you shit on it for no reason. Like, again, for you crap on it for features that you believe it should have when it shouldn't. But then you will get to a car that has all these features and say it's not analog enough. So what are you really saying? Again, and that's reviewers with clear biases, right? So I think, you know, before this video gets way too long, I think that's all I got for you guys. Like I said, I think that a lot of the big YouTubers and just in general, they're just killing the car. They're just finding ways to just crap on the car even further. It makes no sense to me how they doing that when, you know, there's no need for it, to be honest. But like I said, let me know in the comment section below if you heard any of this, because I'm hearing it everywhere, especially on Reddit, things of that nature. So it's no reason to say this car is better than so-and-so car, or so-and-so car is better than this because of a fucking lap time. Most people who get this car is going to have 330 horsepower within a month. So I don't want to hear about, oh, this comes with 270. Bro, we're not using that power. Everybody's modding the fuck out the car. So let's just cut it out. But that's all I got. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.